Hey, good morning, everybody, and hope you guys are well. Where are we at now? Are we in, let's see, August? Let me look. We're August 11th. Okay, so we're getting through the month of August 2026, and we're going to be in Exodus 34 today. It's another super cool chapter. Seems like I say that about almost every chapter of the Bible, I know, but those of us that enjoy the Bible, love the Bible, man, just speaks to our hearts. We can go through every chapter and we're just kind of like, whoa, 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 and no different. So welcome to the morning devotion. My name is Beau. I'm a pastor out here in Tucson, Arizona, have been for, by God's grace, man, alone, 31 years, maybe 32, 31, somewhere in there. So it's been wonderful to serve with a wonderful friend, Scott Richards, at Calvary Christian Fellowship at Tucson. And I started doing these devotions online, of course, like most people, when COVID was kind of in full gear. And we thought this would be a good way for me to just go through the Bible with people that wanted to go through the Bible. I didn't grow up with the Bible, but I picked it up in my late teenage years and decided I'd read it, and which was a shock to my background and very Southern California, very progressive dad. And so the Bible was not on the radar as far as reading it or going to church or those type of things. So it changed my life, though, when I finally picked it up and read it and gave it its due. And it's amazing how my eyes opened up. And boy, did it make more sense. And it not only made more sense, but I was shocked how specific the Bible was, that the Bible wasn't a once upon a time in a galaxy far, far away book. It didn't start with Alice in Wonderland. It wasn't like meditation books that I knew of, like Buddhism or kind of guru stuff, which was very, you almost didn't even understand what it was saying. It was kind of its own interesting, if you know the know, then you will be known by the known, kind of stuff. That kind of phraseology that was kind of very weird. But this was a historical book, and it blew my mind just how specific it was as far as people, places, things, times, languages, and records. And isn't that cool? Like a record, like a file cabinet with a bunch of records in it. Let's read Exodus 34 and you'll see what I mean. Then the Lord told Moses, "Chisel out 2 stone tablets like the first ones. I will write on them the same words that were on the tablets you smashed. Be ready in the morning to climb up Mount Sinai and present yourself to me on top of the mountain. No one else may come with you. In fact, no one is to appear anywhere on the mountain. Do not even let the flocks or herds gaze near the mountain." So the first 10 commandments, of course, were smashed at the golden calf incident. But here you see another set of records being produced by God. And God is laying down a written record, which is very fascinating. It's almost like God writes down the written record so that generation upon generation upon generation has a, if you will, like a testament, like a will or like a historical book, I guess, of what God has done in the past through a particular group of people. Now, of course, the particular group is the descendants of God's promises to Abraham, and in turn, Isaac and Jacob, and just them individually. But it was to their generations to come, their future their progeny. And so now Israel has become a nation. That's what developed in their slavery for hundreds of years in Egypt. But now God appears to the nation much different than God appeared, in a sense, to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. There is a wow factor in the appearance of God on Mount Sinai. It is awe in the sense that the whole nation can see it. It's not something done in secret. It's not something that's just one individual seeing. Like, hey, I found some really cool tablets and I looked into a hat and da-da-da-da-da, and, trust me, I know what I'm doing. It's not like that. This is a entire nation is seeing this. It is a magnificent 4th of July spectacular, right there for them. But then there's these records that are written down so that the future generations can see it. So there's this thread of history, so that maybe that those people are without excuse. It's kind of interesting that God argues actually in the Bible that even his creation, meaning he's written his power in the heavens. The heavens declare the glory of God. Meaning even God's creation is, in a sense, a written document to all human beings of God's very presence, his being, that God truly is. How do we know? The creation itself, the intricate creation. There's a something for us to look at and go, oh yeah, there is a creator. This isn't just some thing, that takes place, randomly, arbitrarily. But such beauty comes from composers and artists and painters. And we know this to be true. Architects make amazing buildings. So I find that that's cool. Have I paid attention to God's handiwork, his composition? The way even I'm made, the way you're made, the way the world is, the way the creation is, the trees, the sky, the clouds, the sun, the moon, the constellations, just et cetera, et cetera. Am I aware of that? Or am I so, in a sense, tunnel visioned by tasks of the day that I don't even bother to look around or really see me for how unique I am? And then go, man, there is a composer. There is a writer writing a poem. And I'm it. I am the poem. He's writing on me. His words. As a person made in the image of God. It's something to really contemplate. How many of us have woken up in a day and just went along our task and not thought about how we came to be and where I'm going and how I am uniquely a part of the trees and part of the grass, meaning I'm a created being, just like everything's created. But there's a separation. There's a difference between me and the trees, and there's a difference between me and the grass too. There's a uniqueness to me. So I find that really kind of cool, to think about. I don't know if you guys think that way too, if you guys kind of have those thoughts where you kind of wonder about, or you not wonder, but you're just kind of in amazement of the creation and everything. And by the way, good morning, friends. Glad you're with me today. And I am in a little early, I must say. I have been in a little early. For some reason, I'm getting up and then going like, hey, maybe I'll just get in the Devo. So anyway, it says, so Moses chiseled out these 2 stone tablets, just like the first ones. And early in the morning, he climbed Mount Sinai as the Lord had commanded him. And he carried the 2 tablets in his hand. Then the Lord came down in a cloud and stood there with him, and he called out his name, Yahweh. The Lord passed in front of Moses, calling out, Yahweh, the Lord, the God of compassion and mercy. I am slow to anger and filled with unfailing love and faithfulness. I lavish unfailing love to 1,000 generations. I forgive iniquity, rebellion, and sin, but I do not excuse the guilty. I lay the sins of the parents upon their children and grandchildren. The entire family is affected, even children in the third and fourth generations. Okay, so this is a famous passage. And a lot of worship songs in church kind of are, in a sense, taken from Exodus 34. This idea the Lord is gracious or merciful and compassionate, slow to anger and rich in love. You might have heard that before, but that's where it's coming from, Exodus 34. He's compassionate, merciful, faithful, gentle, all those things. Now, a lot of people read the Old Testament, and for some reason, they're reading a different book than I'm reading, because when I read the Old Testament, all I see is God's mercy. God can cut off everybody. God's righteous judgment is that he could destroy everybody in the flood. He could destroy everybody in the Red Sea. God could send a plague for everybody. We all deserve it. You go, oh man, but us children, the children are so innocent. Are they? Are children really that innocent? It's funny how God tells Moses or Noah after the flood that you guys are bound with, you guys are bent on iniquity from your childhood. Meaning you have a lot of iniquity in you. You're bending the wrong way. You're wanting to be mischievous, go in different directions, or shell up and not say anything. Or, you're always bound in some way, either too much or too little, or you're going all over the place. You can't seem to be right. You can't seem to just be, There's always stuff going on in there, in the heart, in the mind, even while you're young. And so Moses goes up on the mountain. God is he compassionate? Does he have unfailing love? Do I see God like that? Or do I see God as, oh no, he's the God who, he does not excuse the guilty. Now, of course, God does not excuse the guilty. God shouldn't excuse the guilty. But do I see God as like, oh, he is, he's just so hard. He's just so difficult, Well, that's why we need saving. That's why we need mercy, right? By definition, mercy is what? Mercy, right, is not getting what you deserve. When someone's merciful to you, they're not giving you what you deserve. When you're in a marriage, you need to have mercy on one another, meaning you're going to have to not give each other what you deserve. If you have mercy in a marriage, it means that people are doing wrong. You don't have mercy on people that are righteous. I hope that makes some sense. So if mercy is good, if it's a right attitude to have, blessed are the merciful, right? Have you ever heard that before? Blessed are the merciful. If mercy is good, then you're admitting failure. That's the point. That's the point of the word mercy. So when it says, God is merciful, yeah, you're guilty. Yeah, he doesn't excuse that guilt. God doesn't excuse it. Man, it continues on to the parents, to the kids, to the kids, to the kids, to the kids. It just keeps going. Yeah, that sin just continues to go. And I'm not talking about generational, like the sin of, whatever you want to name. What I'm saying is it's Adam's sin. That's the generational curse. It's the fallen nature that we've gotten from Adam and Eve, our parents bygone. And that generation just goes on and on and on. And that's what it says. But I do not exercise the guilty, or I excuse the guilty. I lay the sins upon the parents, upon their children and the children. That's right. It's like, hey, you know what? The sins of my parents, I probably should expect that they're going to be around me too. And just as they are fallen, and just as they are sinners, going to be in need of salvation, guess what? That's going to be in my life too, and I'm going to be guilty as well. If I go to the court, if my parents go to the court, my grandparents go to the court, my great-great-grandparents go to court, the court of God's law, there's going to be some guilt. And there's no excusing, with God. But notice, it talks about that there is a unfailing love to 1,000 generations. Do you see the kind of interesting thing about this song or this kind of poem, is that God, it says, will not excuse the guilty, and it just goes on in the family, right, to the third and fourth generation, right, 3, 4. I want you to see that, 3, 4. But then I want you to see God is compassionate mercy, slow to anger, filled with unfailing love and faithfulness. I lavish unfailing love to 1,000 generations. 1,000. Do you see the difference? 3, 4, and 1,000? Yeah, what's the whole point of this? The whole point is God does not excuse sin. But God's mercy and unfailing love and grace is greater. Now, you might have heard this passage in a different way, like summarized in this way. Where sin abounds, grace abounds all the more. Have you heard that? Yeah. Well, now you know where it comes from. This is the idea. Yeah, sin abounds. No excuse. No excuses. God is righteous and judging. But it's nothing. Meaning there is not only a reciprocation or I don't want to get too complex, but it's just that there's more grace, love, mercy, plenty of that conquers that sin and that sinful nature that we have through Adam and Eve. Jesus' love is greater. His mercy is greater. His grace is greater. Where sin abounds, grace abounds all the more. Whoa, now I'm starting to see that passage in the New Testament in the correct light. I understand. Why? Because I'm reading the Bible, and that's what they're reading. That's what those New Testament people are reading. They're reading what we're reading right now. That's why they're getting what they're getting, right? The Holy Spirit writes through these people, but doesn't write something that's like this is, some new revelation. No, it's a reiteration of what is already there, but it's new in the sense that it's seen through the light of the Messiah, through Jesus. He's come now. That's what the New Testament writers are doing. They're seeing it through the work of the Messiah, the Redeemer, the Passover, the firstborn, the one from Judah, the child that would be born, etc., etc. The burnt offering. Jesus is our burnt offering. He's our sacrifice. He's our transgress offering. You know what I mean? He's our scapegoat offering. You get it. Anyway, I hope you guys are seeing the bigger picture of the Bible. Man, it's really cool. Okay, let's read through this. Moses immediately threw himself into the ground and worshipped. And he said, "O Lord, if it is true that I have found favor with you," grace, mercy, right? "Then please travel with us. Yes, this is a stubborn and rebellious people, but please forgive our iniquity and our sins. Claim us as your own special possession." Hey, you want to be saved? Well, just say what Moses said. That's the sinner's prayer. Where's the sinner prayer in the Bible? Well, it's right here. You're stubborn. I'm rebellious. I'm a stubborn, rebellious person, man. Forgive my sins. Forgive my iniquities. Claim me as your own special possession. There's your sinner's prayer in the Bible. Hey, I got a question. Is the sinner's prayer in the Bible? Yes. It's right here. Again, you just need to read the Bible and you'll see that. The Lord replied, listen, I am making a covenant with you in the presence of all your people. I will perform miracles that have never been performed anywhere in all the earth or in any nation. It's going to be unique. It's going to be me, the Creator, doing it. And all the people around will see the power of the Lord. The awesome power will display for you. It'll be on display. Again, it's to a nation. It's to be displayed to the nation and hence to the world. But listen carefully to everything I command you today. Then I will go ahead of you and drive out the Amorites, Canaanites, Hittites, Perizzites, Hivites, and Jebusites. So this is something that's been on the mind of Moses for quite some time. God, hey, man, are you going to leave us? Are you going to leave us, man? Don't leave us. Be very careful never to make a treaty with the people who live in the land where you are going. If you do, you will follow their evil ways and be trapped. Ooh, this is one to underline because this is one that's going to happen in the future. It's one that we fall into and they fell into. We tend to make a treaty with things. Oh, I'm going to let this thing keep going. I'm going to keep doing it. I'm going to keep this, keep that, keep that. I'm going to make a treaty with stuff. Oh, and boy, does that usually come back to bite us. Instead, you must break down their pagan altars, smash their sacred pillars, and cut down their Asherah poles. You must worship no other gods, for the Lord, whose very name is jealous, is a God who is jealous about his relationship with you. God's jealousy is one of intimacy. It's one of spoken in the sense of a covenant. Just like a husband should be jealous of a wife, meaning the wife should only be for him, and the wife should be jealous for the husband. The husband should only be for her. That is the way we should look at one another when it comes to intimate relationship. How do we know this? Well, God's teaching us how to do this. That when you're in the intimate relationship, then you are to treat one another in a special way. You are to look at each other in a special way. You guys are to be for one another. You're to be different from every other relationship. It's to be unique. And notice what you're to do with all those, things that are not good for you. You're to smash them. Don't you like that? You're to, bring it down. Tear it up. Get rid of it. I love that. If your eye causes you to sin, gouge it out. If your hand causes you to sin, cut it off. What is Jesus getting at? Well, he wrote the Bible. He's God in human flesh. He knows what it says. When you go into the land, tear it down. Meaning there's things in your life you're going to need to tear down. There's things that your eyes see that are going to need to be torn down. There's things that your hands touch that are going to need to be torn down. And it's radical. It is a radical act, Jesus is saying, to live this way. It's radical. Not like cutting off your hand, really, or tearing out your eyeballs, but the idea of getting rid of, tearing down those pagan things. It is a radical idea. It's a radical way of living. That's pretty cool. And so it says, let's see, you must not make a treaty of any kind with the people living in the land. They lust after their gods, offering sacrifices to them. They will invite you to join them in their sacrificial meals, and you will go with them. Notice it says you will go with them. It's a prophecy. You will go with them. Then you will accept their daughters who sacrifice to other gods as wives for your sons, and they will seduce your sons to commit adultery against me by worshiping other gods. You must not make any gods of molten metal or images. But you guys are going to go that direction. You guys are going to fail. You guys are going to, it's funny how God already tells you, hey, guess what? Live this way, but you're going to bail. Why? Because you're going to need mercy. You're going to need grace. You're going to have to learn how to walk in mercy, walk in grace, walk humbly. You're not going to be able to get too puffed up, are you? Because you're going to bail. Some people don't understand this balance in the Bible where it says, live this way. You are required to live this way. If you don't live this way, you're going to hell. Yep, that's right. But guess what? You're going to fail. And God's going to have mercy and grace on your soul. See, that humbles me. It makes me go, it doesn't make me go, oh yeah, I got it together. Boy, I'm going to be able to do everything just perfect. Man, how am I? But when you read the Bible, you can see that it says, this is the way you should live. Ye walk in it. And it also says, you're not going to be able to do it. And you're going to go these other directions. And you're going to go right into it. And, there you go. You guys are all going to go astray. No one righteous, no, not one. Each have gone their own way. All like sheep have gone astray. Yeah, each their own way. And they're going to worship other gods. They're going to need mercy. They're going to need grace. They're going to need saving, delivering, freeing, all that. A humbling truth. And it's the truth that can regulate us human beings to treat each other properly. If not, we become prideful people, thinking we're better than other people. And we become so hateful and harmful. But if we understand this, we also realize that we don't have to stay in the dumps of depression and sadness and beating ourselves up all the time. That we know that God's made us for something greater, and He can lift us up and move us in that direction. Though, yeah, we are weak, so fragile. But by grace, His grace lifts us up. That infinite grace, that infinite. So you see what we see here is the good news, the gospel. Yeah, you're a sinner. No way you're getting in. You're out. Yeah, give it all the try you want, but you're out. You failed. But God, who's rich in mercy, when we were dead in trespasses and sins, what happened? Christ died for you, paid the price for you. You've been saved by grace through faith, not of works, lest anyone should boast, right? Now you are God's poem. Beautiful, right? Saved for what? Good works, which God has prepared beforehand that we should walk in them. Man, radical. You could see what these guys are looking at. They're not creating something new. They're seeing salvation through the lens of Jesus in the New Testament. Again, this is where it comes from. It's very cool. It says, so you must celebrate the feast of unleavened bread, right? Unleavened bread, no sin. Hey, let's celebrate Jesus, the one without sin. No sin at all. He is the fulfillment of the feast of unleavened bread. For 7 days, the bread you must eat will be made without yeast, just as I commanded you. Celebrate the festival annually at the appointed time in the early spring in the month of Abib. For that is the anniversary of your departure from Egypt. This is a reiteration. The firstborn of every animal belongs to me, including the firstborn males. Remember that. Firstborn males to the Lord. From your herds of cattle and your flocks of sheep and goats, a firstborn donkey, may be brought back from the Lord by presenting a lamb or a young goat in its place. But if you do not buy it back, you must break its neck. However, you must buy back every firstborn son. Remember, that goes all the way back to the Passover, where the firstborn were spared in Israel. All the other firstborns in Egypt were put to death. But the firstborns of those that applied the blood, man, mercy was given to that household. So the sparing of the firstborn belongs to the Lord. And of course, Jesus is the firstborn in many ways when you do a cool study on that. Okay, no one may appear before me without an offering. You have 6 days each week of your ordinary work, but on the 7th day, you must stop working, even during the seasons of plowing and harvest. You must celebrate the festival of harvest with the first crop of the wheat harvest, and celebrate the festival of the final harvest at the end of the harvest season. 3 times each year, every man in Israel must appear before the sovereign the Lord, the God of Israel. I will drive out the other nations ahead of you and expand your territory so no one will covet and conquer your land while you appear before the Lord your God 3 times each year. Hey, I'm going to take care of things. So, when you go away, or, when you go to worship me at the tabernacle, everything will be safe. You must not offer the blood of my sacrificial offerings together with any baked goods containing yeast, and none of the meat of the Passover sacrifice may be kept over until the next morning. As you harvest your crops, bring the very best of the first harvest into the house of the Lord your God. Bring your best. When it says do things with excellence, bring your best. Man, bring God your best. Best of everything. How much do you spend on stuff? Hey, do you spend on furthering the kingdom? Or is your expenses so much towards your hobbies that you have no money to further the kingdom of God? No way, because you got all your money tied up in your hobby. God says, let's flip that. Let's make sure that you understanding what should get the best. The priority. This is called priorities in our life. Man, have you ever heard get your priorities straight? Man, this is a real awakening to that. This whole thing with the festival stuff and going to the festival. Get your priorities straight. Why don't you learn to worship the Lord? That's what God's telling me this morning. Beau, learn to worship me. Put me first. Now, you might have heard this different too. First seek the kingdom of God, and the rest will be added unto you. You've probably heard that before. Yeah, this is, again, where all the foundation of that is. First, seek the kingdom. That's what the whole point here is for the nation of Israel. First, seek the kingdom, and I'll take care of everything else that's in your mind. All your worries, so to speak. But first, seek the kingdom. Again, you could see where everybody in the New Testament, where they're getting everything, right? It's all right here. Yeah. Nothing new, right? It's just through the lens of Messiah. We're seeing everything through in the New Testament through the lens of Jesus, the fulfillment of the child that would be born. So this is verse 26, as you harvest your crops, bring the very best of your first harvest to the house of the Lord your God. You must not cook a young goat in its mother's milk. Then the Lord said to Moses, write down all these instructions, for they represent the terms of the covenant I am making with you and Israel. Okay, no doubt, Israel has a covenant with God and them as a nation. Moses remained there on the mountain with the Lord 40 days and 40 nights. In all that time, he ate no bread and drank no water. This sounds a lot like Jesus. And it says, and the Lord wrote the terms of the covenant, the 10 commandments, on the stone tablets. It's interesting that when Jesus was tempted by Satan for 40 days and 40 nights, where he ate no bread or drank no water kind of thing, you see that there is a little chat he has with Satan, and there's a lot of quoting of the Torah that's going on, meaning the first 5 books, especially the book of Deuteronomy, in that encounter. There is a challenge that Satan gives to Jesus about the Word of God. And Jesus, of course, knows the Word of God oh so well and gives it right back to Satan, but in the right way. Doesn't take the words out of context. He says it. He yields the word of truth rightly. Man, that's cool. So where does Moses for 40 days, his 40 days and 40 nights? It's getting the 10 commandments. Jesus 40 days and 40 nights, it's reiterating the 10 commandments. It's pretty cool. But Moses called out to them and asked Aaron and all the leaders of the community to come over and talk with them. Then all the people of Israel approached him, and Moses gave them all the instructions the Lord had given him on Mount Sinai. Then Moses finished speaking with them. He covered his face with a veil. But whenever he went into the tent of meeting to speak with the Lord, he would remove the veil until he came out again. Then he would give the people whatever instructions the Lord had given him. And all the people of Israel would see the radiant glow of his face, so he would put the veil over his face until he returned to speak with the Lord. Man, Moses had such an encounter with God in the tent of meeting, this place of meeting God, that there was a radiance, man, in his life. Such a radiant glow. This is reiterated in the New Testament, by the way, this event, that there is a veil that's put on him. But when he would go back into the tent of meeting, the veil is taken away. Now, the New Testament says that in Jesus, when we give our life to Jesus, man, the veil is taken away. And boy, we can see, and with radiant glory, the truth of God in Jesus. He is the fulfillment. He is the firstborn. He is the sacrifice. He is the Exodus. He is the Leviticus. He is the Deuteronomy. He is the preacher. He is the one we're accountable to. He is the Genesis. He is the beginning. He is the end. He is the creator. The veil is off. Our eyes are open to who God truly is in Jesus. See, this is the whole point of Jesus coming. Come to reveal the Father, full of grace, full of truth, the gracious one, the merciful one, the forgiving one, the all-sovereign Lord. That's who's there in our midst. Whoa! An unveiling of the sacrifice of Jesus, the atonement that was made through his body, the resurrection, the imputation, meaning the giving us of his right standing with the Father. Jesus had a right standing with his Father as the Son of God. And he gives us that right standing. See, the veil comes off. We see face to face. Isn't that cool? We see, we can approach, we have access. We can talk to God as a friend. Man, true access, true accessibility. And we should shine. You might have heard of that. Let your light so shine. Yeah, the brilliance of God, the illumination of God. Is that in your mind and in your heart and in your life to where it shines? It puts a smile on your face, right? You can't help but smile, knowing that he is resurrected and he's going to resurrect me, and he's gone through death and he's taken a body to go through it so he can change the nature of death itself for me, right? So death is no longer separation, the end, but it is now the portal into the beginning of eternity with reconciliation with God. I mean, it's mind-blowing. You know, these doctrines are absolutely foundational in the book of Exodus. This is where we're developing these doctrines. God is teaching the nation what he is doing and why he needs to do it this way. That there needs to be atonement, that there needs to be consecration, there needs to be an immersion in him. There needs to be these doctrines of baptism, the doctrines of laying on of hands, all these things. It's all in these sections. This is what makes us understand who Jesus is, and that's the veil coming off. Whoa, pretty cool. So Exodus 34 is a huge, huge chapter. There's a lot of foundational stuff here. Meaning when I say stuff, I mean like doctrinal stuff. That's, I think, really cool. And I find it just awesome. And I'm not the brightest dude. I mean, again, I'm just a progressive kid from Southern California that was in heavy metal bands growing up in garages and with a half pipe in the backyard. And, with Powell skateboards and, Caballero and, guys like that. So, hey, but you just read it and you go, wow, that is unbelievable. So pretty cool, man. I find it really neat. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed that. And Bob, super cool seeing you, brother. You take care. Okay, bye-bye.